Yeah, so India are probably favourites, aren't they, realistically, in home conditions. I think had it been in Australia as it was meant to be at the back end of 2020, then I think, it comes down to us and Australia. But in India, it's hard to really look past them. I think one good thing we took out of the series was 5 matches in a series. Often T20s are just sort of, or T20 internationals are really frowned upon a little bit. Nobody really cares. There's not much context to them. But a 5 match series, it felt, I guess it's almost how like a baseball World Series feels, or, the NBA finals. It actually has a little bit of context to it, has a little bit of meaning. And, heading into the fifth and final game with the decider, the title on the line, if you like, was pretty much perfect practice, I guess, for a World Cup scenario.
Yeah, I really liked it. I think it was, what was it, 5 games across 9 days, which I think, because often a lot of the time you see T20s are sort of tacked on at the end of a tour. It's almost like, right, we'll have 3 tests, 4 or 5 ODIs, and yeah, I suppose better chuck a couple of T20s on the end there. But yeah, I think it's a five T20 series often seems to give you a bit more narrative, I guess. Obviously, there was kind of some narratives building there, like leg spinners bowling to Kishan, that kind of thing. But yeah, I'd much prefer to see kind of 5 T20s because you can play them across kind of alternate days.
Yeah, I think potentially the reason it worked so well was obviously playing them all five in the same ground. That's one of the main reasons. In a place like India, it wouldn't be possible if you're having travel days every other day. Then that would be a struggle. But in the current circumstances, I don't see why a five T20 series can't happen more. I think it's much better. And like you say, it does build narrative. It builds battles between certain players. People start working each other out. Some people are left out the side because they're getting battered by someone else within the side. So I think it's really good. And I think it's something we should look forward to. You say England learned a bit. I think India probably learned a bit more about themselves, even though they still, I don't think, have worked out the best 11 or the best balanced side they've got. I think from a bowling point of view, they were really impressive, especially the returning Bhuvneshwar Kumar. What do you make of him?
Yeah, just on that thing, I think India especially seem to experiment a bit more. Obviously, I think Morgan, other than replacing, bringing in Tom Curran, sorry, for 1 game for the injured Wood, I don't think he. I think it was. I don't know whether his main priority was to just simply win in here, or whether it was to give people an outing. But yeah, I think India definitely experimented more because I think, admittedly, there's more question marks about their team than there is ours. Even though they won. But yeah, Bhuvaneshwar Kumar kind of, especially that last game, just killed it, didn't he? On a track where everyone was just getting slapped all over the park. Come on, bowls a couple of tight overs and just completely gives India the game. I thought it was probably the best single bowling performance out of the 5 games for me.
Yeah, and then when you obviously he's had a torrid time with injuries, and when you add in the fact that Bumrah's off having a wedding for 2 weeks or whatever he's doing at the moment, and Mohammed Shami's still got to come back, suddenly they look like a phenomenal bowling attack in India. And actually, remarkably, it's probably the spin which is the weakest department. We saw Joss Butler get the better of Yuzvendra Chahal, hit him out the side. Rahul Chahar came in. He's a little bit of a different leg spinner. He was dragging him down, getting panned all over the place. And you're looking really at the end of then Washington Sundar. So they've definitely still got question marks. And it'll be a bigger question mark will be who they leave out to facilitate Bumrah and Shami. Probably Shardul Thakur, you would imagine.
Yeah, I'd say so. But yeah, I think obviously Jadeja coming back in will be really handy for them. He's a tidy spinner. And obviously, don't need to say anything else about Bumrah. But I think the only kind of questions going forward are kind of batting lineup wise. I think we've got 1 or 2 questions. But if you look at their batting lineup, it's obviously, does Kohli go up top or does he go first drop? Or he seems to. I don't think he seems to know what his best team is, especially considering obviously you said Rahul and Rowe are going to open. First game they won against it. Then he said he's going to open the batting in the IPL. I wonder whether he'll still be opening the batting come the T20 World Cup. So yeah, it was a strange one, definitely.
Imagine having that much power. You can go, yeah, I'm going to open in the IPL. I'll probably open in the World Cup, but I'll just do what I want. But yeah, that is the main thing that this series has thrown up. The balance of India's side massively depends on where Hardik Pandya is up to. And I think he's shown this series that, his place was under question as a bowler. As a finisher, as a hitter, it wasn't under question at all. He's one of the best. If you pitch it up, you will disappear. But as a bowler, there were injury doubts, there were fitness doubts, and he's proved in this series that, probably after Bhuvaneshwar Kumar, he was the second best bowler. And if they can get 4 overs out of Hardik Pandya, then, God, they can do what they want with the batting lineup, really.
Yeah, it's going to be one of them, isn't it? If Hardik can bowl 4, then obviously you can go obviously a little bit more bat heavy, but yeah, there are going to be games where people get hold of him, and it's going to be interesting to see how they kind of configure their team around that. Because obviously, if you're going in with just your 5 bowlers, and if he gets a bit of tap, there's nowhere to hide.
Yeah, the thing I'm most looking forward to, really, is these young lads challenging the old guard. I think we've seen KL Rahul's lost his place. Third in the rankings means nothing. Orange cap in the IPL means nothing. When someone like Suryakumar Yadav or Rishabh Kishan come in and play in the manner in which they did, there was Suryakumar Yadav, especially the way he played in. He didn't bat in his first innings, but did he? But the way he played in the last one was ridiculous. Really, the way he played. There's 2 shots that stand out for me. Obviously, he's hit that swivel 6 off his first ball off Jofra as if it was nothing, but it was the into out 6s over extra cover, which just sort of oozed confidence and class. And this is a 30-year-old man who's had to bide his time for the best part of a decade to force his way into this India side. And it's going to be really interesting to see what they decide to do. Like you say, whether the balance of the side, whether Kohli goes up top or whether they go with Ishan up top, and then what happens to Suryakumar Yadav, because it seems a waste to even think of putting him lower than 4 or 5, because he didn't bat in the first innings he played.
Yeah, I think especially Kohli's going to be really happy with how kind of the players came straight into the senior India setup and didn't seem nervous or anything. Like Ishan and Yadav just basically came out and just whacked it from ball 1, which is probably what they need, given that they've got obviously a couple of anchors in Rohit and Kohli, and then Shreyas Iyer down the order. But yeah, I think if they can get that balance right between maybe 1 or 2 anchors at most, and then kind of guys like Ishan and Yadav that can come out and hit a ball. But yeah, I don't think they quite know what the best balance is yet. But I think when they get it right, they're going to be a scary team to beat in India and around the world.
Yeah, realistically, their balance depends on the form of Rohit Sharma, and I think the way we saw him play in the 5th was the best I've seen him play for a long, long time. Throughout the most of the series, I wasn't particularly worried about Sharma when he was playing. I thought, he doesn't look like he's going to get anything away, but from the start of yesterday, he was on the front foot just punching Mark Wood back down the ground, and you thought, Christ, this could get messy. He probably left the 150 out there if he if he was really that if he applied himself.
When you see him driving off the front foot, it's carnage. I think when he gets the 30 off 10 or 30 off 50, it's going to be ropes from there on in. You need to hope a bit of luck to get him out.
Yeah. You mentioned Shreyas Iyer. He's been a bit of a positive for them, because the best anchor that India have is obviously Kohli. That is what he is. But Shreyas Iyer has been a big positive. He's been a bit more attacking, showing that attacking intent. Usually, pigeonholed as a bit of a spin bully, but he's played really well against the pace, which people had questions about. And I think overall India's fortunes changed when they had a change in approach and, invested in attacking intent at the top of the order. And I think Ishan Kishan showed them the way to go with that in his first game. And then Suryakumar Yadav and those lot have sort of continued that. And that is what pretty much where the series swung, because England didn't really know how to contain that. England in the first couple of games in the first and the third, the ones they won, were brilliant with the ball. I think from an England perspective, we haven't learned as much as India because we didn't experiment as much, as you said, with Owen Morgan. It did seem as though they were going over there with the intent of nailing down a squad maybe rather than looking elsewhere. But I think we have learned there are a few weaknesses and deficiencies within the team, and maybe we're not as great. We're not the best of all time that we maybe thought we were.